Hey, welcome to the channel. We hope that you enjoy today's stories and check out the chapters on the video to see all the stories for today. But before we get into this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release a new video. So let's get into the video.
What was the most out of touch with reality thing a rich person ever said to you?
Experience 1. My boss asked me why I didn't just buy a house in her neighborhood instead of renting an apartment. The houses there were $300,000 to $500,000, very pricey for my area, and she was paying me $9 per hour. I had literally just applied for food stamps. Experience 2. Not a quote from the person, but me and my sister were planning a weekend trip with our two cousins, and one of them just could not understand how and why we couldn't make the trip longer and couldn't seem to understand the concept of taking time off work and that we can't just not show up whenever we feel like it. Experience 3. I was complaining about mortgage payments, and she said, "I know, I finally just took the money out of savings and paid mine off so I wouldn't have to worry about it every month." Experience 4. One time a client's kid gave a coworker an iPad. Brand new, unopened box. My coworker was a little uncomfortable receiving such an expensive gift from a kid. The kid just said, "Don't worry, I just grabbed it out of the gift closet." We were confused, so we asked him what a gift closet is. Apparently, their family keeps a whole closet loaded with stuff like this: Apple Watches, cameras, iPads, etc., so that whenever they need to give a gift, they always have something on hand. Experience 5. In college, I was washing a bowl in the sink, and someone said, "That's the weirdest thing about college for me, not having a dishwasher." I said, "Man, I didn't have one until high school and it was crap, so it couldn't clean pans." Him.
Oh, I meant like someone to wash the dishes for us.
Me. "You're joking, right?" He was not joking, but I got invited to their upstate place for spring break, so that was cool. Edit, it had a pots and pans mode, which we tried exactly once. Turns out it couldn't wash anything even remotely stuck on, so we usually just washed them by hand anyways. Experience 6. My husband was on a business trip with some rich people in Hawaii. They asked why I didn't come. He told them I was home with the kids. The guy says, "Well, couldn't the nanny just stay with them?" Nice enough guy, just out of touch for sure. Experience 7. Back when I worked in payroll, a doctor yelled at me because his administrator didn't process his bi-monthly incentive on time, so it missed his check. He was supposed to go pick up his new Mercedes with that money. It was 6 figures, so he threw a fit to have a check cut that day. 2 weeks later, that same doctor did not approve a check to be cut for an hourly employee whose hours, 2 weeks worth, didn't get approved on time because it was only $1,000 and they wouldn't miss it. I had to go above him to get it approved because I knew that employee would definitely be negatively impacted by not being paid on time. Experience 8. I didn't go to college for 7 years after high school due to struggles with alcoholism and bipolar disorder. A kid I worked with asked me what I was doing working and going to school at 25, and when I said I took time off due to personal issues, his response was,
Wow, if you're not making at least $100K a year at 25, you've basically screwed your life up.
Experience 9. I have a friend and she is very wealthy. She was talking about finding a charity for Christmas. I mentioned that there were people going places and paying off Christmas layaways. I mentioned a town I grew up in as a possibility. I told them the per capita income is $9K. And she said,
$9,000 a month. How do those people live?
Then I had to tell her $9,000 a year. She was floored. Edited to say, she is actually a very, very sweet and caring person and donates millions a year to so many wonderful places and causes. Experience 10. I worked as a tow truck driver for a little bit. I got a call that a customer needed their car towed from the police impound. I get there, and it's a 7 Series BMW. I didn't even want to touch it because they're expensive AF and are notorious for transmissions that disintegrate when moved in park. The owner wasn't even there, it was his manservant, and he knew nothing about the car. We ended up having to call the owner for something, and he basically told me he didn't really give a crap what happened to the car because he already got another one because he couldn't wait for the impound to open. Experience 11. I think there's a book bound with human skin in here. Billionaire showing me his siblings' extensive library. He was high and immediately retracted it when he realized he'd said that to someone he'd literally just met hours before. Experience 12. A friend of mine said to me about a year ago, I'm paraphrasing, "You should really get your own house, man. I know it's hard to leave your parents behind, but I can tell you from experience it's completely worth it. Just do it and I promise you won't regret it." He, of course, received as a gift from his parents for his 25th birthday a 4-bed, 2-bath home in one of the nicer neighborhoods in Houston. A gift as in, they paid cash up front, bought it outright, and signed it over to him.
Do you like listening to these stories? Do you want to hear more of them? Then click that like button, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And check the description for links to more videos and interesting stories.
Experience 13. My ex was a teacher in a private college in Switzerland. Once she asked her class, 5 to 6 kids coming from ultra-rich families, if they knew the price of a loaf of bread. First reply, 100 euro? Another time a kid from UAE told her he was paying about 15K of phone bills a month because he was still using his Emirates SIM card, roaming all the time. He said it wasn't much. Some of them were usually ordering sushi delivery for lunch or dinner from the nearby city, like 20 to 25 kilometers down from the college, which is up in the mountains. It's like a 1-hour round trip by car. They were paying 100 to 150 Swiss francs delivery fees and thinking that was normal. The horrific thing is that these kids will be the top managers of tomorrow. Experience 14. I dated a girl from France who was just insanely rich. She was a good egg and scary smart, but she had just been insulated her whole life. Private school, private college, straight into a well-paying job. A couple of gems. Didn't know public pools were a thing. First, she thought they were just an American thing that I had to sit her down and say, no, they have them in Europe too. Had to explain that not the woman we saw in the park picking recycling out of the garbage cans was not doing it just to be an environmentalist. Showed me her insanely expensive jewelry after knowing me for less than 2 weeks. Had to sit her down and tell her why that was not a good idea. Experience 15. A whole podcast full of early 20s rich white kids saying if you're 25 and you haven't figured out how to make enough money to buy a Lamborghini, then you only have your own laziness to blame for your mediocrity, and then they went on a whole 45-minute rant about how everyone has the capability for wealth and success. The only difference is %1 of people are willing to work hard enough to get it, and %99 of people are lazy pieces of crap. They may as well have literally been stroking each other. Dicks. All they were really doing was gloating about how they are so much better than the average person in society and being their own hype men by disguising the discussion as education and motivation for success, like they were saying it to do the rest of the world a favor. Do rich kids seriously have zero comprehension of the difference between a person's ability to achieve substantial financial success when they're born into an existing system of wealth and power versus when they're born barely above the poverty line and have to get an after-school job from the time they're 14 to help their parents pay the rent and keep the lights on? These kids were on a live stream passionately yelling at all the men who grew up in those circumstances and have reached their mid-20s that they're lazy POS whose lack of trying has made them a failure at life if they still can't afford their own Lamborghini. Experience 16. This actually happened. I worked for a large tech company. In my first year there, I had a coworker that had God-level money. We were booked for a business trip to London. I boarded the flight, didn't see him, and thought he missed the flight. I get off the plane and he's texting me from our hotel in London. He arrived 5 or so hours before I did. I get to the hotel, check in and meet him for dinner. I asked if he took an earlier flight as I didn't see him. Nope. He told me he was racing his vintage Ferraris in Southern California and lost track of time. Realized he was probably going to miss the flight, so he flew his own jet to New York with the Ferraris on board, then grabbed a flight on the Concorde and beat me to London. And he genuinely said this as he just grabbed Starbucks on the way home. He was incredibly down to earth and very humble, but his assessment of everyday life related to travel was so far out of my realm of reality. That was my first brush with God-level money.
We hope you enjoyed listening to today's stories. If you want to see more stories, check out these videos or check the links in the description for more videos. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And ring that notification bell.